there, I'm the 996, and today's video has to do with answering a teenager's questions on Twitter. And what happened was I had asked a teenager what kind of questions she'd be interested in having answered regarding teens and writing. Because when I was a teenager, that was when I first had my first attempt at writing seriously, and that was my first attempt at drafting the novel I'm currently revising, which is a young adult sci-fi fantasy novel. So my first thing I would love to say is hi. First of all, Catherine B. Morden, thank you so much for being so specific in your questions. I think that they are questions that can also be for various different ages, whether you're an adult or a teenager. But because you are a teenager, I'm going to try and tailor the question more so to teens. So the first question was tips on maintaining motivation and drive. So motivation and drive can be hard for any writer because a lot of times I think we have the shiny new idea syndrome where we're writing on something and then we think of something else, or a movie or a TV show or something in your life, or you've seen someone else's life sparks something that helps you realize something else. However, what I think is one thing for being motivated and driving to write, and I'm assuming this also has to do with finishing something, is to make sure it's something that you're really interested in. There are themes which have more so to do with underlying messages, maybe good always wins over evil, or the power of friendship, something like that, or maybe learning that people are complex and the world is complex. Just all kinds of themes that can be in stories. Whatever kind of themes and stories in books or just about people really, really interest you, this might be something that you might want to write about. Maybe you hate how some kind of story always has to do with some girl who falls in love with some guy, and you said, okay, well, how about if this was happening as well? Or maybe maybe romance isn't for something you should write. Maybe also making sure that I think you inform people close to you that you're trying to be serious about your writing also helps, because if you're going to have to make time to write, you might have to sometimes turn down your friends' invites. Maybe you often just hang out at your friend's house. If you have a group of friends, you hang out at their houses or something like that. You have to say, hey, I'm trying to write, or do you mind? I might not trying to be really rude and just totally ignore you, but can I just bring over my laptop and get some of my writing done when we're hanging out? You might have to ask them that and then see about that. If you also have to try to manage your time, there's certain things you have to do. You have to go to school. Don't skip school. If you have a part-time job, that's an obligation because it pays for things. Maybe you're helping your family with expenses. Maybe maybe the money is going towards your stuff for yourself, whatever, it's a job. That's another thing. If you're in some kind of extracurricular commitment, whether it be sports, music, or whatever, then that's the commitment. So more than likely, you're going to have to stick with those type of things. So most of the time, what you're going to have to be cutting out is the time that you socialize. Sometimes time with, I guess, socializing, or times as you're really just spending R&R. So that might mean if you read for an hour, if you read for 2 hours a day, you're just a total bookworm. That makes sense. You love reading, you want to write, that's awesome. However, you might need to cut back. Or maybe if you read an hour a day, that's great. You might need to cut back to maybe 40 minutes or half an hour sometimes, so you can get writing in. Maybe you need to write and then reward yourself after you write, that you can start reading the next part of a novel that you love. Also, One reason to let people know about your writing so they don't think you're blowing them off and so forth. You might also let kind of let your family know because they might be saying, well, I mean, depending on however someone's family structure is, they want you to try and spend time with them or whatever. And you might also figure out motivation drive where you write better. Like, do you write better maybe if you're in a cafe, if you can drive yourself to a cafe somewhere or a library, um, maybe do your homework at home and then go somewhere else to write or how whatever works for you. Because sometimes if you have some people can write with a lot of noise around them. I can write with music around me and people talking to a certain extent. But if someone is like doing construction work, that's going to be something that is too much of a distraction. If you have a lot of, if you know every Thursday night your parents want you to babysit your sibling because they can't get the babysitter to come or something happen, they always want you to babysit your sibling, you might realize, okay, depending on the age of the kid, that might not be the best time to write. Or also, a lot of time we spend on things we don't even realize, and it helps you be motivated by joining a group of other people. If you join a writing group, maybe you could ask your parents, like, hey, can I set up an early birthday or early Christmas present? Can you pay for me to be in this writing group and make sure that the writing group involves genres that you're interested in writing about and see if there are other teens there? Maybe talk to people online and see if there are online groups that you can get involved with. And you try to keep each other motivated by saying maybe what kind of writing goals you can kind of bounce ideas off of each other. Maybe you have um, let me see, also to say maybe you love to just, surf the net and you're on social media talking to people and you're doing that while you're watching a TV show, maybe you need to realize, okay, if I come home, I do my homework, I automatically turn on the television. But then I'm thinking about writing. Oh my goodness, when am I going to have time to write? That might be the time you need to write. I mean, it's nothing wrong with needing just to completely come down. I understand that everybody needs R&R, but you have to find out where to put it. That usually the motivation comes from understanding where to write and continuously doing your best to figure out where to write. I like to make goals for the month. I don't always make them for the month, especially when other things come up and they really push my goals different directions. However, I think one of the things is to always just keep trying and to figure out what works for you. Maybe you write in the morning. Maybe you write at night better. Maybe you might mean you have to just try to, if you set your alarm for a certain period of time to make sure you're up and get ready for school, you might need to try and make sure that your alarm is up a half an hour early. And then you go and get your computer up and you make sure that you're writing for a half an hour to get you that time in the first thing in the morning. I mean, I personally don't always do that. I mean, sometimes I have done that before I would go to work, but it really just depends. If you don't get it done every single day, that's fine. I personally don't believe in having to write every single day. I believe in like 4 to 6 days a week. More realistically, usually 4 to 5 days a week, I'm going to be writing. But you have to figure out what works for you. Another thing to be about motivation and drive is figuring out what works for you, which is trying different things as far as writing is concerned. It doesn't always mean it's going to just be the easiest thing in the world. It's more so about figuring out what your writing energy is. Like maybe in the morning, you don't have to be worrying about thinking everything that happened during the day or people or, you're a little fresher. So it might be better in the morning. But then it might be that you need your sleep. Oh my goodness, I cannot get up earlier. Maybe when you're in the car, if you have someone who's driving you, if you're in a bus, you can have some time to write then. Maybe write just a pen and paper. Maybe you can write as soon as you get out of school. Maybe at lunchtime, you could get a little bit of writing done. It's basically the motivation really comes from, I believe, figuring out what it is that themes and stories and what kind of ideas really enjoy and you continuously enjoy. Figuring out when you can put it in and continuously making it a habit to keep on working on it. So unfortunately, that was only one of Catherine B. Morton's questions, but she does have some more, and I will answer those in my continuous other videos. So again, Catherine B. Morton on Twitter, I want to thank you for giving me these questions to give me content, and I hope that this is helpful to you or anyone else that sees these videos, and I hope you have a wonderful day.